A foot injury only makes Nadal put the pedal to the metal when it comes to competing in this year's Wimbledon. We bet anyone with a slowly healing wound would use it as an excuse to sit at home and eat a tub of ice cream. But that's precisely why only one man can boast of being a 22-time Grand Slam champion, Rafael Nadal. Let's see what Nadal has to say about all of this. First up, Nadal is in it to win it. Rafa has already won the Australian Open and French Open this year, so he only has to win Wimbledon and the US Open to complete the record run. He has set his sights on the next competition just 2 weeks after winning his 14th French Open. According to ESPN, Rafael Nadal declared that he would compete in Wimbledon for the first time in 3 years. A victory at Wimbledon would bring his Grand Slam total to 23. Don Budge in 1938, Maureen Connolly in 1953, Rod Laver in 1962 and 1969, Margaret Court in 1970, Steffi Graf in 1988 are the only tennis players to have completed the calendar Grand Slam. The 36-year-old made the statement while in Mallorca, Spain, and said he planned to go to London after spending the week training on grass courts. He and Djokovic were spotted practicing recently, too. The ATP now has the Spanish tennis superstar rated 4th in the world. Nadal has not competed at Wimbledon since losing in the quarterfinal round against Roger Federer in 2019. According to Sky Sports, after winning the French Open earlier this month, Nadal told reporters that he would require a treatment to relieve discomfort in his foot caused by a chronic condition. He stated that he would not compete at Wimbledon if the treatment failed. Thankfully, the treatment has provided enough relief for the star. He said his medical treatment wasn't a 100% cure, but it would allow him to notice changes in his pain and tolerance gradually. Luckily, his joint pain lessened, and he's expected to make a safe return to court. Now, for the images that shocked tennis fans. Images of Rafa Nadal on crutches emerged only 3 weeks before Wimbledon, as the Spaniard sought treatment for a long-standing foot issue. Nadal astonished the tennis world by winning his 14th French Open championship and 22nd Grand Slam trophy while playing with the discomfort of a numb foot. The Spaniard's long-standing foot issue required pain-killing injections throughout the event, to the point that Nadal said his foot was numb for a portion of the Roland Garros final. The chronic pain in Nadal's foot is linked to Mueller-Weiss syndrome, which was somewhat eased by surgery in 2021, but still bothers the 36-year-old. Nadal said that he would do everything in his power to be ready for Wimbledon, but he will not use the same numbing injections he used before Roland Garros. The speculation about Nadal's career finally ending makes many fans afraid that this may be the last time they see him at Wimbledon. Earlier, Nadal discussed his operation and how it would help him go forward. He said it would be a radio frequency injection to burn a tiny piece of the nerve, making the pain subside for longer. That's what his doctor and team plan to accomplish. If it were to succeed, he'd keep playing. Except now we know the treatment has worked, and hopefully this time around, he won't be playing on a numb foot. Next, we have a choice between family and Wimbledon. The Spaniard, 36, revealed on Instagram that he and his wife, Maria Francisca Perello, were expecting a child, much to the surprise of his followers. As it goes, fans immediately began questioning his devotion to sports. Balancing the birth of a child and a chronic injury would make anyone dozy, but Nadal is built differently. According to him, the revelation would not affect his professional future. He made his statements crystal clear, saying he intended to play in Wimbledon. He told fans he was to play an exhibition match in Hurlingham, before which he'd practice and see how things go. His privacy is essential, so he's always maintained a low profile. However, with his injury and retirement questions plaguing our minds this time, he decided to give fans more insight. And lastly, he will compete in his first grass court competition in 3 years. The French Open winner will face Stan Wawrinka on Wednesday afternoon in the Giorgio Armani Tennis Classic at the Hurlingham Club. The 3-time Grand Slam champion will help Rafael relax before Wimbledon. Stan Wawrinka says Rafael Nadal cannot be compared to anybody else in tennis after his recent triumphs. He, too, is back on track after a lengthy injury hiatus. He noted that Nadal's winning streaks did not surprise him because that set him apart from the crowd. Nadal has a record of bearing painful injuries every 2 to 3 years, but has always managed an even better comeback. Safe to say, Stan Wawrinka is a Rafa fan. The first meeting between elite tennis players Rafa Nadal and Stan Wawrinka took place in 2007, and they've met 18 times since then. They've met 3 times in a Grand Slam tournament and 15 times on more miniature stages, but their matches have never reached a deciding set. Next, in other news, Craig Tiley comments on Rafa. Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tiley compared Rafael Nadal to Hercules in an an edition of the AO Show podcast. This comparison does seem fair. He said there was no question that he surpassed his teammates in superiority. Nadal will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the greatest players, if not the greatest. During the discussion, Tiley talked about how the 36-year-old beat Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev in the quarterfinals and semifinals before defeating an informed Casper Ruud in the final. He added that Rafa's crew was surprised to see him knock the game out of the park. His form and game were outstanding and left everyone visibly shocked. Nadal was just as surprised by his victory, given he had assumed his injury would hold him back. But knowing him, we're sure that was him just being modest. And now, Lleyton Hewitt praises the legendary player. Nadal's determination has pleased former world number 1 Lleyton Hewitt, whose career was nearly cut short by a foot ailment. According to Hewitt, the foot is likely one of the most brutal injuries, making a recovery uncertain. He had to sit out matches for 3 months back when he had suffered a foot injury in 2011. That's what made this French Open so unbelievable, how he was able to come back in that final despite not being at his 100% physically. He explained that Nadal is simply grateful that he can still go out there and play at the level he desires, which is sufficient. Audiences are lucky to have witnessed Rafa's games over the years. Whether he settles for retirement or not, we should be grateful for having had the opportunity of seeing his successes entertain us. And we agree. Next, the US Open is welcoming Russian players. In more pressing matters, the bitter war in Ukraine persists. However, there have been some debatable consequences. Russian and Belarusian tennis players have been banned from playing at Wimbledon this year. Other Grand Slams have not followed suit, and the US Open has announced that it will let them compete. We'll see stars toughen themselves up at the US Open, which begins on August 29th. Lou Scher, the CEO and executive director of the United States Tennis Association, said that the USTA board decided to allow Russians and Belarusians to compete due to concerns about holding athletes responsible for actions government officials should be questioned about. Scher said that the competitors from Russia and Belarus will participate under a neutral flag at Flushing Meadows, a practice used at other tennis championships worldwide, including the French Open, which ended on June 5th. And finally, we have Rafael's statements on Wimbledon's ban of Russian players. Rafael Nadal has spoken out on Wimbledon's ban on Russian and Belarusian players for the first time. The Spaniard is a member of the ATP Player Council, and he revealed he respects the tournament's decision to impose the ban. He had earlier expressed regret at the ban on fellow players, saying he wished it wasn't this way, and admitted he was involved in discussions on the ATP's response as a player council member. He shared his thoughts casually, saying people's suffering was essential to address, which is why he understood the message behind the ban. But ATP wants to protect its players, which is why they made a countermove too. Wimbledon's ban made ATP make a shocking decision to eliminate ranking points from the tournament. ATP blamed Wimbledon by saying they didn't value their ranking system by casually banning people not responsible for their government's actions. Their statement added how allowing members to play based on merit was integral to the tour. The ban means Russia's current men's number 1, Daniil Medvedev, is not eligible to compete. For those living under a rock, Medvedev is the reigning US Open champion. According to the ATP, all points collected at Wimbledon in 2021 will be minused from a player's record. In a commendable move, the USTA plans to offer additional financial assistance for humanitarian efforts in Ukraine and hopes to see the US Open as an opportunity to educate people about the war and its effects. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Nadal will bag this year's Wimbledon trophy? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.